promise, people. It's not going to be a very long live stream tonight. But I finished watching this movie called Divergent, which is kind of like Hunger Games, I guess. Kind of Hunger Gamesy. And I didn't really feel like doing anything in particular else. I had some thoughts I wanted to talk out a bit, but um, hopefully we'll be going to bed relatively early here. So I wouldn't imagine the stream lasting any longer than, say, 2 hours tops. I was struck again, as I have been in the past, by Cone Man's very different way of being than mine, you know. I believe him to be an ESFP, and it just seems to make a lot of sense. Like, I had this video, which was a short called "Why Morality it is Morality Objective," and the point of the video was that people do moral reasoning. Objectivity is not something that can be possessed um, by morality. It's a reification fallacy, what you might also call a specific kind of category error. You know. So, it was a very good short. I was pleased with it, and that's ultimately got to be my standard. If I think it was good, it was good, and that's all there is to it. Uh, Even if other people disagree with me, that's fine. I'm satisfied if I feel it was a good short, and that was very concise. Rachel thought it was a good short too, uh, and it was like 30 seconds long. It basically said, ask the question, is morality objective? It says, we do morality. Hi, Full Metal Chad. And when we do, we break it down into things that are morally impermissible, morally permissible, morally obligatory. I further said then that we can do those things, and we do those things, and therefore the question is really not is morality objective, but rather are we doing it well? That's all the video said. It was, like I said, literally 30 seconds long. And Cone Man was a comment saying something. Well, let's see if I can pull it up and find it. Full Metal Chat, I'm not especially remembering you from before, but I don't doubt that you've been here before. The name seems kind of familiar, but I'm not sure. I don't mean to be like not remembering you, but a lot of people come around here, you know. So the is morality objective short. Let me see if I can. What it says here in the comments. He said, you have a great ability to complicate relatively simple things with multiple words. You talk like a dictionary definition is unhelpful because you lose your audience. How complicated could it possibly be? It's a 30-second long video. You know? Well, I think what he's saying is we can't use moral reasoning to determine morality. That's not correct, Eric. But he doesn't get that moral reasoning is something people do engage in, right? It's one way of possibly framing morality or moral questions. And it's necessarily the case that anytime one's making a moral claim, it's either regarding something being impermissible, permissible, or obligatory. That is definitely the case, you know. So it's very strange then to encounter a comment that says complicating relatively simple things with too many words. It was 30 seconds long. We're not playing politics, Manny John. We're not playing politics of anger. Okay, so let's just drop the politics shit tonight. Thank you very much. The thing is, what he was saying essentially is, I don't understand what you're saying, Eric. Therefore, you're complicating things unnecessarily with words. I try to get my brain around this because he left a comment that if I read it out loud would have taken longer to read out loud than the video itself. Hunter Bunning, I will not be your pet. People's attention spans have shrunk. That's fine. I'm not expecting people to have a long attention span. I don't have a long attention span. I expect things to be brisk in their pacing, right? To get right to the point and say what they're going to say, and be clear about what they mean and so forth. But it's not that people's attention spans have shrunk so much as it is this individual whose cognitive function stack is incompatible in terms of with my explanations. Nevertheless, is attempting to engage my explanations, even though he doesn't understand them, and everything he says makes me bang my head against the wall. Well, Poem G, I'm going to just remove that comment and just leave it at that. Nobody wants to hear your confessions, sir. So, and then what I also got in a lot of the comments for that, not so much for that short, but for the other video. No, he's not. Here's the deal. He's not. He's TI polar, so he doesn't understand doing definitional style parsing, right? And it's foreign to him, and it's also it's so foreign to him that he can't understand how anybody could parse in that fashion. Basically, he's saying you don't make moral decisions with all these complicated words. You make them with your feelings or your intuition. And he's not wrong, but that's not what he says, right? Those are not the words. Those are my words, not his. Of course, I have a greater capacity to understand him than he has to understand me, because understanding is a function of language, communicative skills, not of experiential skills. His function stack is consistent with experiential skills and not communication skills. He might be an ENFP, but I think he's an ESFP. I could be wrong about that. Regardless, the point is that it's, understanding in the way that an NTP means understanding, or alpha quad or beta quad mean understanding, is not the same thing as understanding according to ESFP or an ENFP. So it's hard for him to conceptualize, I think, that different people really do have different ways of paying attention that can sometimes be so foreign to him that he completely misses the point. Of course, note that I'm doing the same thing with him. I'm completely baffled by him, such that when I read his comments, I just go, what happened here? How could we have communicated so poorly? I think I'm good at communicating. How could this person possibly respond to what I said with this? But the reason is because though he doesn't know exactly how to express it, what he's saying is he feels my frame of reference is wrong, I'm talking about Cone Man leaving a baffling comment on the short. Remember, he says it's like too complicated when it's 30 seconds long. Oh. Because what he means by complicated, I've been thinking about trying to figure it out. What he means by complicated isn't complicated. What he means by complicated is you're trying to use language and precise terms to do something that you can't really do with those things. Of course, in each of our individual lives, it's correct that we don't understand morality first and foremost through moral reasoning, probably. At least a lot of people don't. Like they're probably going to understand it through their feelings or their intuition, like I said, right? But that's not good enough for public policy. We need to remember that law is codified morality. So, in the ideal circumstances, like the model penal code, so to speak, you'd have law that perfectly mirrors a perfectly descriptive moral normative framework or whatever, right? Well, sure, morality requires a base. People say this, right? I have no idea what they mean. They don't have any idea what they mean. But I'll take a stab at it. It is true that moral reasoning of the abstract or philosophical kind, we can logically establish, say, negative moral obligations, but we have to begin with an axiom that we agree on, such as slavery is wrong. Slavery comprises and it's wicked or immoral to enslave somebody. We can agree on that axiom, then we can do all the parsing work to get to where we want to get to without too much trouble, because essentially all rights derive from property rights. You're born owning your own body. You can't sell your own body because it would be fraud. Because it's not possible for a person to actually sell their will and hand over the keys to what they're going to do to somebody else, then it would be fraud to try to sell it. You can be brilliant but incompatible morally. What does incompatible morally mean? Like, you can be brilliant but wicked? That's absolutely true. Now, you can definitely be brilliant but wicked. I'm not saying that smart people are never wicked. I'm saying that if we want the law to be as just as possible, then it needs to emerge from some kind of normative framework that is of a higher level of understanding than the specifics of the law. So we all tend to agree that it's good that murder is illegal, but we don't necessarily have any idea why, right? Some of us do, some of us don't. The reason it's illegal is because it's immoral, and the reason it's immoral is because it's a violation of property rights, namely bodily integrity rights, and the right to life, right? But most specifically, it's a seizure of another person's entire being's potentiality without just cause, because they own themselves, not you own them. People who get murdered never complain about it. That's true. That's true. That's why the state acts on their behalf in the criminal trial without their testimony. Religion, I'm not talking about religion at all. More normative reasoning or moral reasoning of the sort I'm talking about is basically Kantian, or more, it's not purely Kantian, but it's a rights-driven normative framework that says that we have an obligation not to violate the right of others. I swallow. I would love to say your name, Mr. Cum. You're the first person I've ever met whose last name is Cum. I'd like you to meet my friend Mike. Last name is everywhere. Actually, in real world, there is nothing illegal. That's a great fortune cookie, man, John. Thank you for that one. Well, regardless of where laws actually come from, and what were the motivations of the people who wrote them, etc. Um, we we can all agree if we could all agree on what was moral, that we'd want the laws to mirror our correct understanding of morality across the board. Okay. Now the thing is, we cannot understand all morality with reason and logic and philosophy. We can only understand negative prohibitions. That is to say, obligations not to interfere with another person, because we can only justify logically. Will you get off this fucking counter? I don't want you up there. Um, because we can't use just logic or reasoning or philosophy or religion or anything to correctly determine what we ought to do. We can only use it to correctly determine what we ought not to do. And we want something that's fair, that makes sense, that we can look to for answers if questions arise. Like, what should we do about COVID? Well, we can look to that framework for what to do, what we can't do, right? When questions arise, which is whatever we decide to do, it shouldn't violate people's rights. Because no matter how important you think your outcomes are, the more important they are, then the more you should have an obligation to do it properly. Come up with a plan that doesn't violate rights to achieve your outcome. If you're not capable of doing that, let's find somebody who is. And so it's like, for people who have a different cognitive function stack than mine, like Manu John, for example, he's using words for a very different purpose than I'm using words. He's using words to express his general primacy of experience over abstraction, experience over communication. That's the way he is, and we all tend to project our own frame of reference onto the world. In many countries, you can get arrested for a Facebook post. Most countries, in fact, I'm sure not most countries. Mystery Inc. says, you are on your own level of crazy, brother, and I like it. I mean, I think I'm extremely sane, but I am somebody who is probably different than people you've encountered before on YouTube. I'd like to think that what I'm saying is not commonly spoken about because people don't necessarily understand it. Whereas I was a competition flow debate coach for my career, which is to say, I came up with the best ways to argue both sides of everything. That's my job. I was very good at it too. Well, China does arrest people on, in violation of their free speech rights, but China is not most countries. Hi, easy, breezy, cheesy lemon squeezy. How's it going? People are not very good at understanding which sorts of things belong to which categories. You're right, Oliver Linehan. But what I'm, I guess, trying to do tonight is it's tricky because, like, I can try at least to understand why I'm speaking past somebody, but they, on the other hand, likely are not going to understand because I happen to be an understanding type, right? My personality stack is somebody who just understands things. there's no particular use to understanding things, but I use language that way, right? I use language to explain things. I use language to understand things. And the kind of language I use is language where words mean specific things or defined in such a way that you can use them to find something, right? Like if I define a banana as anything that's black, then I can look around for something black to find a banana, right? I just found one. Here it is. So that's the kind of thing that not only some people use language like that. Other people use language to express themselves rather than to convey information. And the challenge I have is, of course, people who use language to express themselves are not very good at understanding information that's conveyed. I can understand why they're having trouble with what I'm explaining, but I don't know how to explain it to them so they can understand, because the mechanisms of explanation and the tools of understanding I have are all predicated on the idea that we can define terms to mean something specific, and that any good definition is always operationalized. If you can't use a definition to determine whether something is an example of that thing or not, then it's not a good definition. Hi there, Squiggles. Welcome Sudan to California, America. I hope you and your Sudanese ways enjoy it here. Morality is not up here. It's right here. Right. There are a lot of people who would say that, right? And I'm not going to disagree with them. And that's the thing, is they don't seem to get that either. I'm saying you're using words wrong. You don't mean anything when you say those things that you're saying. And I'm correct about that, but it's like, I mean, it's unfair to expect people who don't use words well to use words correctly. I don't know how to bridge the gap. Morality is for weak-minded people, says Manu John. Okay, Manu John. That's the biggest reason I initially kept coming back to your channel, and then I'd see your live, so I'd engage in live streams. What's the biggest reason? My healing gaze? Hi, Lao Y. The clear way you break stuff down is ENFJ, correct? Oh, I see. You're currently in Kentucky. Cheers, Kentucky. I'm going to give a shout out and a weed cheers to you, your bluegrass, your bourbon, and most importantly, your derby. But you know who this bong rip is not for? Women who attend the Kentucky Derby and think they can get away with a headband. No. You get a fancy hat, lady.
Can I give you a kiss?
Mm-hmm. You like bong rip too?
No, I'm okay. I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm tired.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
gonna be in
Yeah,
the
you
chat.
do you. Yeah, I self-identify as Christian. But, you know, I'm not a Bible lover. All right. I don't fetishize the Bible. Like six hair. Like six hair, Maserati sound. How's it going, dog? Money. There are those who take what they want and those who can only complain. The law is to silence the envious majority. Who's silencing the envious majority? Is it me? Do they bash morals? Because I think every philosopher would disagree. Eric, what is stopping you to break laws? I mean, largely, I follow what I consider to be natural law. I respect other people's rights. Why? A multiplicity of reasons, I suppose, ranging from conscience to understand, but most of all because I understand what I can defend later. Right? I need to be able to defend whatever I do with my words. But the good news is why any given individual chooses to be moral isn't relevant to the question of what kind of moral reasoning does what. I love what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount. Very powerful stuff. What did he say? Was it like free tacos if the Giants win? Yeah, I know. Look, something in like a human law or something, right? It's the law not because you can't break it, but because if you do, society sees fit to punish you. Do you understand? Treat others well, don't be angry, don't judge. I mean, increasingly, I'm kind of feeling like anger is a. There are times when I feel as though anger is appropriate, anger is useful, but by and large, I am not. Uh, I'm not finding a lot of utility in anger these days, like perhaps once I did, and I think that's good. Do I think Trump has morals or not? I mean, I think he has morals of some sort. The question, look, everybody, the question isn't whether people have different moralities. They do. The point is, what can we logically determine as definitively correct provided the following axiom? Okay? I'm not describing what happened. I'm explaining that, look, if you want to make something in your chemistry lab, you're going to need to understand chemistry first, right? Well, it's true that uh, accordingly, you don't want somebody who doesn't understand chemistry to make your drugs. Yes, they can mix chemicals together, but who knows what the hell they're giving you, right? Similarly, with matters of law, we don't want people who aren't experts in moral reasoning to be engaged in the making of laws because, after all, we'd like our laws in an ideal world to match the optimal understanding of morality, the one that we can all defend. We can all have our own subjective understandings of reality. That's, of course, we all do. But we can only adopt one understanding of morality as the standard for us all. And we should obviously pick the fairest one, right? Logically determined from an axiom. The axiom being slavery is wrong and or you own your own body. I don't blame anybody for not trusting experts. Um, I'm saying that even if you don't trust experts, understand where you don't understand their expertise. So at least if you're not trusting them, you understand that you should only put so much weight in your own distrust because you don't really understand stuff well. The troubling thing for us all, I think, in a lot of ways, is that of all the things that are subject to Dunning-Kruger, the most important is philosophy. In other words, the most important thing that we could get Dunning-Kruger out of would be philosophy. And guess where Dunning-Kruger is most rampant? Philosophy. They might not call it philosophy, but this kind of reasoning, logic, explaining things, etc., right? Good explanations do certain jobs. You have to have a successful case be made, established, withstand scrutiny, and be affirmed as correct requires very specific kinds of work. Because the thing is, like, if for anybody who's done debate, they understand the idea that the clash of ideas exchange is an exchange between an affirmation, making some kind of case that we should agree with him, he's saying, right? And he's making specific points as to why we should agree with him under a specific framework. And then the person who's disagreeing with him is responding on point to everything he said. That doesn't just mean giving some kind of a response like Brown. It means, saying the reason this is wrong is because meow, 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 right? And so when you track the intellectual exchange of ideas across a flow like that, It's easy to see at the end of the round, provided both parties have engaged in actual clash, which is to say, actually answer what the other person says rather than avoiding it, answering something else, or any other kind of nonsense, right? Then it's very easy to see in this instance which ideas won the day, right? Because after all, every exchange of ideas is an exchange of ideas between two people or more sometimes. And the thing is, it's not the case that all communication should be always about an exchange of ideas. It should not always be about conveyance of information. I'm not claiming that my way of stuff is the way everything should be at all. What I am saying is that the reason civil society faces, I think, a relatively unprecedented threat to its ongoing success is that everybody thinks they're just as good at coming up with this sort of thing as anybody else. That what they feel and say is just as valid as an opinion as anybody else. That's very common. I'm more of an under glass kind of fellow. You mean you'd like to be placed under glass and examined through a microscope? We do have the Bill of Rights, and that's a wonderful thing. But it's only as wonderful as people are willing to say, I'm going to respect that what keeps our nation robust is the Constitution. What keeps us safe from oppression is the Constitution. And that therefore, even though I don't like guns, I'm not going to be supporting a bunch of anti-gun legislation because I know what the Second Amendment says, right? And even though I don't like it, I respect that that's the law of the land. Well, not all of us, mystery. And there's no such thing as wage slavery. That's the exact opposite of slavery. I mean, I get it. We can feel like wage slaves sometimes. I'm going to work super hard to support ourselves, etc. But there's no they. There's a you and a me, and maybe a we. Please don't. I'm not saying vote for Trump. I think he's horrible too. But Kamala Harris is an abject nightmare of buttfuckery. And believe me, I hate Trump. If the Democrats gave us anybody remotely decent, I'd be in favor of them. But Kamala Harris is horrible. Don't let yourself be dragged into pro-Kamala just because you hate Trump. She's worse, probably, almost for sure. I mean, her policy prescriptions are horrible. That moron wants to double federal tax revenue. Like, you want to talk about a catastrophically bad idea? The government is not doing a good job of spending the $4 trillion it already gets. So, but think what you want. People do anyway. Even though I'm right, they don't necessarily listen to me. Even if they do, they don't necessarily understand what I'm saying. That's just life in the big city, Eric. You're going to have to just deal with it. You have to live with life in the big city, which means what? People aren't convinced by my correctness because people don't want their positions to be correct. They want their positions to be unchallenged. with a few exceptions, Our contract is that which affords one individual positive rights and the other one upon the meeting of a certain obligation by the other one. So, for example, if I pay at the first window at a drive-through, I have a positive right to my food at the second window because of a contractual obligation incurred by McDonald's when I gave them the money. That's how it works. I mean, Niebuhr, she's not courageous, she's evil. She was a prosecutor who put a bunch of people who smoked weed and shit in jail for as long as she possibly could in order to further her own career and is proud of it. So don't let your hatred for Trump blind your eyes to how horrible Kamala is. She's a real scumbag. Trump is too. Trump's a scumbag too. But Kamala Harris knows if and if not, she's answering a question. After all, she's a prosecutor. She knows what depositions are. I'm sure she's told plenty of people in depositions to answer the question asked. But she feels no obligation at all to the American people to tell us the truth when she's asked questions. She just dissembles. How horrible. What a scumbag. At least Trump tells us his own stupid ass opinion about whatever. But he's not that much of a scumbag to just dissemble all the time. Yeah, exactly. The Constitution tells us the federal government is one of enumerated powers. It's designed to be the government of the states. The states are designed to be the government of the people. Federal government's overreach is just appalling. It's ridiculous. And the idea that the federal government could conceivably need more money from the taxpayer is, I mean, it blows my mind how anybody could possibly think that. Like, after the failure of the war on poverty, the failure of the war on drugs, the failure of the war in Iraq, this is what the government is spending our tax dollars on. And the DEA, and you want them to have more money. You want the federal government to have more tax dollars. Then you have got to be mentally ill, to think that. It's insane. I wish I could debate Kamala or Trump. I'd wipe the fucking floor with both of them and walk out with their blood dripping off the bottom of my boots, motherfuckers. Isn't our government modeled in part from the German democracy? It doesn't really matter what it's modeled from. The Constitution says specific things, We can look to that to note exactly how many enumerated powers the federal government has and what they are. It doesn't matter what influenced the Constitution. The Constitution says what it says. I'm not a crackhead, motherfucker, and I'm 53. You're, on the other hand, you genuinely are a stupid person. So, you've got to live with that the rest of your life. Let's say you're 20 years old. You're going to be stupid your whole life for decades more of life. And it's never going to change. Okay, well, Beardy Cracker, I'm pretty sure that's not why George W. Bush invaded Iraq. If you wanted to come up with some ulterior motive, don't you think, more say in access to control of petroleum resources in the region would make more sense as an ulterior motive? I think his motive was, I want to free all those people. And I want to go down in history as a great guy. Because he's a fucking idiot. You can't fake stupid. Exactly. I'm not going to keep telling myself that, Chef Monty. I will forget about you very shortly because I obviously encounter a million morons like you. I mean, you're trying to counter my arguments by saying I'm old and a crackhead. I may be old, but I'm not a crackhead. And even if I were, neither of those things respond to anything I said. So that's why you're stupid. And there's my warrant. Now you could respond to it if you'd like. But I can say I was part of Operation Desert Storm and we were stationed to guard them, pillage museums. I mean, guarding museums and pillaging them seem to be entirely opposite things. Do you say you were there doing both? Oh, yeah. Well, if somebody successfully responded to, rebutted your point, and you don't have a winning argument on that point, your best thing to do is to kick it. It's called kicking. I'm going to kick my second contention. I don't need it to win anyway. That way you don't have to respond to their shit anymore. And you haven't just dropped it. You've kicked it. So they can't claim that they should win because you dropped it. Well, crackheads may generally have missing teeth, but it would be poor reasoning to conclude that therefore those with missing teeth are crackheads. All society is going to shit. Do you think you are better than old ones? What a joke. I don't know what you mean, frankly. Do I think I'm better than old societies? I think you're comparing apples and oranges. Started as a guard, then went to pillage. Once we were to move on, we were told it was to stop looters. Well, I guess that's because we looted it first. Well, a lot of crazy, shady, weird stuff went down in the Middle East for sure. I don't know what to make of it all. I am going to get my teeth fixed pretty soon. And I'm kind of glad to do it because it's like, it's like a hanging curveball that people will no longer be able to hit. Not that it bothers me like emotionally or anything. It's just kind of like an annoyance. Like, okay, here it comes. It must be like for Kevin Hart, right? When I was doing my live stream earlier about how horrible Kevin Hart is, I explicitly, and intentionally did not say anything about his physical body. But of course, multiple people in the chat were like, commented on that, right? Similarly, if somebody wants to try to, it is at a loss for anything interesting to say, they're naturally going to try to body shame, appearance shame. It's kind of like, I guess, the first and last resort for people who lack wit. Kevin Hart ought to get his butthole ripped out. I don't know about that, but I do think he's horrible. I think he's cringily untalented, and I also think that he's a Diddy enthusiast. Good morning, David. Full Metal Chad, I would advise not banging your head against the Manny John wall too hard unless you're enjoying it because he I've already gone down that road. I mean, I've done a pretty good job of avoiding that road with him more so than with some others, but trust me, you won't get anywhere. He's not understanding your words to mean what they mean. Right, I agree he's part of P. Diddler's gang, and that's one of the reasons why I hate him. The other reason I hate him is because he's so horribly untalented and like got into show business by being a comedian. He's not funny at all. I don't know what that means. Well, I'm not concerned about whether any given notion is liberal, libertarian, right wing, or whatever. I'm only concerned with being correct about everything. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right, gotcha. I understand now, Bearded Cracker. Sorry for being a little slow on the uptake there. I'm bearded, fluidly transracial. No, Kevin Hart is definitely not funny. Not funny at all. Um, who else? Jay Z. I mean, let's see. Bearded Cracker makes a claim that I'm not going to read out loud, but I think is certainly very plausible. And does anybody else know who are some of these other people who are in Diddy's thing? I forget all the names. Sometimes I don't recognize the names. When I went through a little bit of a phase of watching videos about this subject. Diddy's crew of celebrities. Oh, Ashton Kutcher. Ashton Kutcher, Jay Z, Jennifer Lopez, Leonardo DiCaprio, the Kardashians, Naomi Campbell. Uh, hmm. What does this say? Diddy probe. Overwhelming majority of Hollywood celebs scared to death to weigh in on criminal case. Experts claimed in a new report that there is no shortage of reasons for the majority of A-list stars being silent about Diddy's ongoing sex trafficking probe. 50 Cent, Diddy's sworn arch rival, isn't the only one to speak out against the embattled hip-hop mogul, now arrested and charged with 3 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Dawn Richard and Aubrey O'Day, members of Combs' girl group Danity Kane, Kesha, ex Bad Boy rapper turned politician Shine, and Mary J. Blige, among others, have also joined in the vitriolic discourse against the Revolt founder, either without sugarcoating their narratives or doing so cryptically. Also read, new Diddy doc announced after arrest. Quiet on Set Network spearheading project while 50 Cent's series also awaited. However, a seemingly never-ending list of high-profile Hollywood stars who shared ties with the disgraced rapper in the past have either remained inconspicuously silent, this is a quote, but it should say conspicuously silent, or spoken only in hushed tones about the questionable rumors surrounding Diddy. The list includes his former girlfriend J-Lo, Ashton Kutcher, his long years pal Ashton Kutcher, and Jay-Z, his mentee Justin Bieber, Leonardo DiCaprio, frequently in attendance at Diddy's parties, the Kardashians, and another longtime friend Naomi Campbell. According to a Fox News report, experts are insisting that even though no other unmissable Hollywood star from the list has been implicated in the criminal case. Many are maintaining their silence despite the music moguls' recent indictment and arrest because they are, quote, scared to death, unquote. Celebrities are silent because they are scared to death of their brands bleeding out with fans over ties to Diddy, and worse, they fear if they cross him, things could end in disaster. Combs, infamously known for partying like there's no tomorrow, often invited an expansive roster of celebrities to his soirees. However, an overwhelming majority of the music and entertainment industry has remained outside the picture, as there is no shortage of reasons why they haven't weighed in on the allegations regarding Diddy, claimed Doug Eldridge, founder of Achilles PR. And why is that? The, quote, severity of the charges, the detailed allegations in the indictment, and long-standing rumors surrounding Combs, unquote, have left these stars with no alternative but to stay aloof, presumably to avoid any arising any this is to avoid raising or making visible to people any connections to the allegations leveled against Combs dating back to the early 2000s. After making headlines in February 2024 for filing a $30 million lawsuit against Diddy, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, accusing him of sexually harassing, drugging, and threatening him. Despite the suit, the rapper-producer who worked with Combs on his 2023 The Love album mostly steered clear of public sightings and remarks. In a rare move, he ultimately broke his silence in August in an interview with the Rolling Stone. Slamming Diddy as a monster who could wiggle his way out of any predicament by any means necessary and never took no for an answer. He told me himself, I'll smack my mama. Anybody who can say that even jokingly is a monster. That's not true. He's nothing to be played with. But I mean, if he's super serious, I guess it's for a person whose brand is Love Records and changed their name to Love and named their kid Love. He doesn't show love. He's just marketing. Jones also alleged that ever since he sued Diddy, he couldn't secure himself a stable gig in the industry. It feels like there are so many people quietly rooting for Combs, or maybe they're rooting for me and just scared to say something. The indictment against Diddy indirectly expounds Lil Rod's side of the story, claiming the bad boy for life secured, quote, absolute loyalty, unquote, from people linked with his business through acts of violence and threats. Well, that's what it says. That's what that article says. I don't understand how you could be rooting for Diddy if you saw that video of him kicking Cassie, you know? And then, I guess, it was Diddy's lawyer, someone was saying that Cassie provoked him by going through his phone. Oh, is that suddenly now justification for a beating? Correctly intuiting that your significant other is cheating on you and going through his phone and finding various texts with various people and stuff? Hi, Sarah Sales, and hello, Arkansas. I remember that one time I stayed in a motel in Arkansas. You know what was cool? I got a smoking room. I don't know if they still have those in Arkansas, but they did, like 7 years ago. But then you, huh? Are they in your spleen? I'm doing all right, Jonathan Earl. Rachel and I had a good time today. We went over to the neighbor's house, hung out with the neighbors, jammed out, smoked weed with them. Had a good time. I hope we continue to hang out with them, more frequently. Eric, did anybody mention Did anybody mention your type police subject, Lauren Chen, who was recently revealed to be a Russian asset collaborating with Russian operatives with her husband? I typed her as the ENTP. Really? Is that true? I've never heard of it before. I mean, I don't remember her name anyway, but I've not heard anything about that. Let me Google this. She's a Canadian far-right conservative political commentator. I type policed that lady? Really? Was that the name that I type policed her under? What name did I type police her under, Jimmy Blaze? No, that's not Lauren Chan, Winston's mom. Whatever created us gave us a spirit that's connected to it. Connect with that seed, and things started to make more sense to me. Well, good. I'm glad things make more sense to you. Easy, breezy, cheesy, lemon squeezy, to get the full name of it. She was roaming millennial at the time. Okay. Roaming millennial, huh? Yeah. This lady, huh?
Detective hosted.
I. Who's that other person there? I don't know who that is. Well, regardless, I typed her as ENTP. What does she type herself as? Have I ever flown in a plane? Yes, I have. I've never flown a plane. We should support Ukraine. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to argue about politics right now. I'll argue about politics. I'll explain things about politics more and just be more okay with that whole thing when I run for president. Until then, I'm not going to get into it anymore. So, Roman millennial. Apparently, I typed her as HP. I didn't know that she was famous or whatever. Maybe I should put her name Lauren Chen in like a hashtag Lauren Chen, you know? What do you think? Maybe I should. Might as well. I've already thought the idea. What have to edit video. I'm going to edit this video. Edit the video. Okay. I will type her name as Lauren Chen. Equals what type? Okay, get rid of all of this old stuff. Old stuff? No, I don't like it. There. What did I put here? This video is a typological evaluation of Canadian Lauren Chen, here named, here called roaming millennial. Millennial? How do you spell that? I spelled it wrong. Apparently she's famous now or something. Apparently she's famous now or something. So, I figured, hey, why not put her name and so forth? Well, that's her name. Her name and nationality. Here in the chat. I hope you enjoyed reading the foregoing. There. Isn't that nice? Here, fix this. Oh, apparently. Okay, fine. Save. What type is that lady? She's Canadian. Where is she going? She's going to type jail again. I don't know if she went to type jail. I don't remember that video at all. She's a political and social commentator who was born in Canada and raised in Hong Kong. She should make content under the pseudonym Hong Kong Fooey. Don't you think so? Full Metal Chad, it is certainly possible that Manu John's trolling, but believe me when I say it's possible he's not. There are different ways of paying attention, different ways of thinking, and Manu John's always like this. He could just always be trolling with the same character or whatever. But at this point, I suspect it's more likely that that's just how he is. He's not especially effective at getting a reaction from me, so you'd think if he were trolling, he'd sometimes show a little bit of a break in character and or try a different approach given he's looking to get some kind of reaction from me. It's hard to consistently maintain a character over a long time like that. He'd have to be playing a pretty good meta troll, Oh yeah, Full Metal Chad? What do you think about this? Y'all stink! Do you think that Full Metal Chad, unfortunately, did I just make that mistake? You just told me not to do that, right? Did I just lose all your respect by telling you that you stink? I can't blame you for having no respect for me anymore. That's because that's the way the meatball crumbles. I was thinking a good like old saying would be, "Well, fuck me in the ass and call me Father Christmas." I think that'd be a good old saying. Manu John. Listen, Manu John. You are maybe many things. One thing you are not is a dumbness mirror. If I had a dumbness mirror and stood in front of it, I'd be misidentified as a vampire. I jest. I'm dumb in plenty of ways about plenty of things, but I'm trying not to beat myself up so much anymore. Man, John, just to be clear, I don't actually think that Full Metal Chad stinks. Yes, I do grow my own weed. I'm smoking my own weed right now. This is Northern Lights, I believe. I'm sorry. Why do you need weed? Because otherwise, how would I smoke weed? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that, Manny John? If I didn't have weed, well, how would I smoke it? Okay. I'm going to assume you're saying, why do you have weed? Because you've yet to establish that I need weed. I've never made that claim. You a weed head. If you don't understand, then how are you brilliant? Okay, Manager John. We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that and give ourselves a pat on the back. Am I low? Manager John, you decide. Am I high or am I low? What do you think? Mushrooms are better than weed? I like to do mushrooms sometimes, but I haven't had them in a while. I don't love them. I'm kind of like over them. I've done a lot of mushrooms. Like I've done shit tons of mushrooms. Yeah, that's why you use weed. Now I'm asking you, do you think I'm high or low or both? I don't find them scary, but sometimes they make me feel a little pukey. Oh, I'm low. Okay. Thanks for helping me understand where I am. Like, how low? Would you say that I'm below sea level? Like, am I in Death Valley and at the lowest place in the continental United States? Or am I low in the sense that, in this kind of dance club sense, in which shorty get low, 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 low? Why do you have to measure low? Well, because according to you, I am low, so I want to understand what you mean by that. I find it scary because you're losing your mental shit. Probably weird. I don't even drink alcohol to reach some very drunk state. Am I low enough to limbo? I'm low enough to have a European dance fiesta. European dance fiesta. I'm gonna get so low. I'm on a European dance fiesta. Get your piñata out. Let's go. European dance. What do you think? Pretty good? You think Manny John is secretly smart? You know, I used to think that about trolls sometimes. Like, maybe this persistent troll is actually secretly playing this kind of like metagame or whatever. The thing is, if you're genuinely smart, you're not going to play that metagame because why are you wasting your time trying to convince me that you're an idiot? Right? How much time are you going to waste trying to convince me you're an idiot when you're not successfully provoking much of a response from me in the way the trolls normally do want to provoke a response? Yes, he's getting engagement, but at this point, like, he's been around so many times and been the same way every time that he either is this way, or if he's not, then I'm sure at this point he does not know why he's still playing this character. He's got to be kind of at a loss. He's always saying these same kind of things like, you remove the weed, then you won't have high or low at all. Or will I have medium? Yeah, it's fine. But like, I think I'm inclined to think he's authentically like this. You kind of get what he's saying? You don't need to label any word like medium at all. I didn't label the word medium, I used it. You know, just like you used the words high and low. Jenny, do you really need me to watch you eat again? I agree with you on this point, Manny John. Your labels regarding me being low and high and so forth are ridiculous, silly, and typically, wonderfully Manny John. You're a good boy. Yes, you are. And Daddy knows. And Daddy knows. Yes. Oh, yes. You know what I'm worried about now? I'm worried that my lowness might be contagious. I don't want you to get low, Manny John. Are you sure you're going to be okay? Because I think I might have the lowness pretty bad. From what I understand, it's contagious through the internet. So, are you wearing a lowness mask to prevent yourself from getting infected? I'll take that as a yes. You're smart. You keep safe. You're not going to put yourself at risk. You know, there are a lot of people who genuinely will think they know what's best for somebody else. I used to think it was always fake, right? Like, they're always just attempting to shit on you and pretend it's concern or pathology or whatever. But I've grown to think that some of the time, actually, when people try to tell you what to do, They genuinely think that's a smart thing to do because they're doing harm prevention of some kind. And it might be genuinely because they care about you. The thing is, of course, they obviously don't care about you, or they in a way that matters to you, because otherwise they'd be concerned with whether you want to be given this, told what to do. You know, I obviously don't want to be told what to do, but for people who think they're making an effort to prevent harm, it's a way of showing they care, I guess. It's not my way of doing things, but I try to understand instead of just project my frame of reference all the time. I mean, even I unavoidably project my frame of reference a lot of the time. Most people do it most of the time. But cognitive functions at least allows me to have the tools I need in attempts to. So and so it's like if I understand clearly enough, presumably. See, the thing is, I could find a communicative way around, potentially, but it wouldn't be satisfactory on my metrics, right? So, then that would just be being manipulative, in my opinion. But of course, that's also in keeping with my own metric. For TI tool FE3, I mean, I feel like if I get you to agree for the wrong reason, then I've been disingenuous and manipulated you. What are the signs to know that your girl is cheating on you? Like new and unusual slowness responding to you that's persisted for a while. A substantial reduction in the amount of attempted engagements with you. This can't be explained by something legitimate, I would say not wanting to have sex with you as much. Money makes the excellent observation that one of the best signs that your girl's cheating on you is a penis inside of her other than your own. So if you spot that, she's definitely cheating. Science can't give you a definitive answer. But the thing is, in my opinion, if it's a healthy relationship, you should already have access to all of her devices and stuff and can snoop if you feel the need to do so. Because I don't think it's healthy for people to be hidey when you're in a relationship. Both people are going to appear, because both people have lived in the real world and have experienced betrayal and stuff. Probably been cheated on, I've been cheated on. Rachel has too. And because you genuinely find your significant other precious, you're obviously very concerned about something catastrophic happening. And what could be worse than discovering that she's played you for a cuck? I mean, I don't think it's appropriate for significant others to say, you can't look at my communications and stuff because of the reason I just articulated. I want reassurance. I don't want to just trust you, right? Trusting you is fine, right? But if you're saying you need to just trust me and not verify, then it's going to make me trust you less, But she's welcome to snoop through my stuff all she wants, She may choose not to, which she's certainly welcome to. I'm not hiding anything from her. What if I cut off her ex's penis? I mean, use it as a sex toy as a way of asserting my dominance over other men. Is that cheating? I would suggest don't do that, okay? But if you use someone else's penis, does that make it yours? It's subject to lock-in rules of homesteading. If you've put substantial labor into it, such as tattooing it, giving it ribs or other special things, then you now own it. How's the NL going? You mean the Northern Lights? If you can cheat, then you should cheat. Okay. I mean, Manny John, if she wants to cheat, then she should break up with you so that she can retain some moral high ground and not betray you, right? So that she can fulfill her responsibility. If she wants to cheat, she probably should break up with you, because if she wants to cheat, then she doesn't really want to be with you. I think it's fair to say that neither Rachel nor I want to cheat on each other at all. What do you want? You want more food? Let me change your plate. This plate is too old, starting to look like an old tortilla. When Rachel was talking to Kami and Lou earlier, I said, "You're not talking to any strange boys, are you?" Rachel has never given me a single reason to suspect her of being anything but entirely devoted to me. My suspiciousness comes not from her and her trustworthiness. It comes from life before her. She worries about something else, right? She doesn't worry about me cheating on her. She worries about whether or not we're compatible, whether I'm going to leave her or something. Obviously, we're compatible. Obviously, I'm not going to leave her. I love her immensely. She's my precious wonder. But, instead of saying to her, "You need to just stop feeling that way," I just reassure her, It's what good partners do for one another. And if it reassures me to, make sure I don't see any secret message exchanges between her and Tony on whatever, then I should do that. How to respond if somebody knows you got cheated on? Revenge? No. Don't revenge cheat, because then you lose the moral high ground. Just leave the relationship immediately. You cannot salvage it. Don't listen to anybody who says you can, because there's no way to repair that broken trust. If you truly love your woman, you might let her go, right? Because if it's love, then you let her go. But you don't let her cheat. You don't let yourself be cucked. You break up and say, "Okay, I get it. You're either not really down for monogamy, or I'm just not the right person for you. We just need to break up." He's just establishing dominance. You mean the cat? Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, cheating is a choice, and it has consequences. The first of them is that nobody's going to be particularly supportive of you in your breakup if you broke up because you cheated on him or he cheated on you, right? Like, there's a lot of people out there who kind of have strong feelings about how fucked up that is, right? So you want to keep in mind um, whether or not your behavior makes other people think you totally lack character, or if it makes them think you're a good person, right? David, why does your coffee taste bleachy? You got to be secure in your masculinity to be a cuck. Okay, well, I'm not secure in my masculinity then, and that's fine. I do not want to be secure in my masculinity. I don't want to be that secure in my masculinity because then it would be me not caring about me, not taking care of myself at all, you know? So, yeah, Dee Dee, I think you just need to find out for sure if she's cheating. You should probably ask her if you haven't already had a conversation about it. I wish I could grow, but would go to jail if caught. Well, I'm sorry you live someplace where um, you can't. But we can, as long as we grow a reasonable amount of plants. If we had tried to have some sort of grow operation here, we could get busted for it. Some people are so immature they can't comprehend what actually cheating is. They think that a lie told else counts as cheating. I mean, you shouldn't lie to your significant other either. I think it's fair to say that any lies I've told to Rachel have long since come clean or whatever. I think it would be a huge big deal if either of us caught the other expressly lying to the other person, knowingly lying. I think it would be a huge big deal. I think it's under 10, under 12, something like that. We don't know. We don't. Oh, is it 7? Is it 7? Okay. Well, I guess we'll grow 7 next year. This year we grew 5. I planted 6 seeds, but only 5 of them sprouted. This upcoming year we'll grow 7. Or I'll look it up. I think you can grow under 10, but it's also the case that it's like where we live, if we're not trying to be abusive about the thing, we don't have like 100 plants growing or something, then we can probably expect to get away with it across the board. Like, even if somehow the sheriff were informed of it, if we had 10 plants, they wouldn't bust us. I read this thing in the paper the other day, basically, that said, they're talking about busting some illegal grows in the county. And the sheriff specifically said, I want to stress, these are not like small, reasonable sized grows or something. These are industrial scale grows that are done so that, and then sold to cartels. They, in other words, it's like illegal agriculture in some sense too, because they don't follow agricultural regulations and stuff like that. But that's not anything like what we're doing. We're just growing for our head. It's not organic. Like I put some fertilizer on it. Does that make it not organic if you put fertilizer on it? I didn't put any pesticide on it. When we had a little bit of a pest problem, I just rubbed some diatomaceous earth on some of the leaves. That helped. Well, in soil. Oh yeah, it's growing outside on the hill. On the hill out back. Would you like to see it? mean, we already harvested 2 of the plants. They were 2 of the smaller plants, yeah. But what we have left outside that's growing is, what time is it? If it's super late, I don't want to. Well, fuck, I always turn these outside lights on. I'm all like, we just made friends with the neighbors. Don't bug them. I'm sure they're not going to be bugged. They're cool. We went over to the neighbors today and had a really nice time. We played music, smoked pot with them. We chatted. It was very nice. Let me turn the, what's it called on? Yeah. This is Gorilla Glue. Ooh, frosty. Look at that. Looks nice, huh? That's pretty good view. This is Jack Herrera. It's getting there, but it's got a ways to go. Go down here. This one I've harvested mostly, but I just left this top part on. Maybe for this reason, so I could show people what it looks like. Really, I just put it because I figured, it's left it because I figured, well, it'll stay fresh longer, you know. And then this is the other Jack Herrera. This one, we're gonna get the most out of it, right? That one is, as you see, it's what's left of it. This one's pretty tall. This one's pretty small. The Northern Lights one was pretty small too. So, you know, that's definitely within the legal limit. I'm not worried about getting busted for that. I could probably call the cops if somebody stole it and say, hey, somebody stole one of my weed plants. And they'd probably try to, they'd take a report as like a farm crime, you know, like stealing crops or whatever, but I'm not doing it agriculturally, though, so it wouldn't be that. It would just be like stealing someone's vegetables from their garden. It said there would be much worse if somebody stole my water. I don't think anybody's gonna steal my weed around here. We live in a pretty isolated neighborhood, pretty, I would even say very safe neighborhood, nice neighborhood. That's out my back door. It's also, you can't, they're not visible from anywhere, basically. No, I've looked all around. I've like walked up to the street and stuff. You can't see them from anywhere except from the house. You prefer indica or indica dom? You know, POTUS, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there. I prefer the sativas and or hybrid. Like, I really like Gorilla Glue number 4, or I have in the past. That may have some a little more indica in it, I think. I'm not sure. Cherry Pie is probably the most indica in the weeds I've planted. Northern Lights and Jack Herrera are straight sativas. And yeah, Gorilla Glue's a hybrid, so is Cherry Pie. Yes, cheating is that bad. Guys do not cheat on the woman they're with all the time. I've never cheated on Rachel. You have had a horrible experience or two, no doubt. Eric, if you tasted ice cream and loved it, would you never eat it again? No, probably I'd eat ice cream again. I have some ice cream in the freezer right now. in fact. Are you suggesting I get an ice cream? Well, that's not a bad suggestion. Are you asking me money? Yeah, I did when I was 18, I think. 19. And I regret it terribly. But, you know, some of us have to learn the hard way, I guess. So, I don't necessarily judge somebody super harshly who's cheated once, depending, right? Like, depending how they are about it, what their attitude is about the whole thing and everything, you know? No, Diamond, it's not a matter of hit to ego. It's a betrayal, so you can't trust the other person anymore. I do feel very lucky to live where I live. I mean, karma doesn't always get everybody, you know? Some people are ditty, but manage to get all the way to the end without getting in trouble. It's unfortunate, but Diamond has experienced enough betrayal to think it's normal. I mean, it's definitely not normal, and it's definitely one of the most horrific kinds of abuse you can do to somebody. I mean, okay, you cheated accidentally by doing emotional cheating. I mean, I'm not sure. It would depend on a lot of specifics as to whether. The thing is, you should reserve your most intimate secrets, if you have any, for your significant other, right? You should reserve your secrets for your significant other. Um, if you are intimate with another person, then you and that other person are sharing the kind of secret that should that makes them the most intimate person in your life, not your significant other. They share your real secrets, your real truth, right? Well, if you don't have many personal secrets, well, you do if you cheat, right? Now you have a secret. I mean, the thing is, it really all depends on what the two of you agreed upon. You know, if you're in a monogamous relationship, like Rachel and I, from the outset, understood that we had the same definition of monogamy, that we expected the other person to actually, and without single exception, be faithful to me, you know, and vice versa, me to her. We both understood that those were our terms going in. So basically, if you agree to those terms and then cheat, you're defrauding the other person, among other many horrible things. If you don't want to be in a monogamous relationship, then don't don't say, I agree, that's what we're in, right? So the good news is you don't have to cheat to fuck a myriad of different people, right? There's no reason to cheat because you don't need to. You just need to not get in a monogamous relationship. Nobody's saying you shouldn't pursue the style of life you want if you don't want to be in a monogamous relationship. I'm not saying you should have to be in one anyway. I'm saying if you don't want to be in one, don't get in one. Because you're promising the other person, if you get in one, that they can trust you, but they can't. And you'll end up betraying them in the worst possible way. I mean, that's a horrible story, Diamond. Okay, well, look, if both, I can't conceive of such a thing, right? But if it's something that you want your partner to do and she wants to do or something, I'm not going to judge alternate lifestyles here. That wouldn't be considered cheating if it's consensual and desired like that. I can't conceive of such a world for myself, but that wouldn't be cheating. Real cheating is when you're secretly doing it behind your significant other's back and they have no idea that it's happening, and they're caring about their business blithely as usual while you're fucking someone else behind their back, right? And that's I'm gonna remove that. I do understand that people do that, G, but it's not good to think about. You always suspect the man you're with is cheating? Well, I mean, can you not conceive of a world where the man you're with is so open and honest and that we have zero, there's never any cause to think, what if he's actually not cheating, And he's like, well, look through all of my shit. I'm cheating, obviously. Well, I agree. There's no reason to blindly trust because your significant other should want to reassure you by giving you as much information as you need to be reassured. Rather than doing things sneakily at all. People in a long-term monogamous relationship should not be sneaky with each other. Isn't there a phenomenon where you accuse someone innocent and they think I might as well do the thing I'm accused of? I've heard that before, but I mean, it does not qualify as an excuse for cheating. But I'm not accusing Rachel of things. I'm just being paranoid. So, okay, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I'm feeling tired. I want to go to bed. Tomorrow I need to get up, call Delilah. I might have to go to LA this week. So, I'll figure that out tomorrow. What does cheating mean? For each individual's purposes, I think cheating is, as the Supreme Court said about pornography. I can't define it, but I know when I see it. Right. But it's definitely the case that if you're having sexual physical contact with another person, that definitely qualifies as cheating. If you're like naked live chatting each other, that would qualify as cheating. Anything sexual with another actual human being in real time qualifies as cheating. Loneliness isn't real. I'm willing to undergo any experiment to disprove it. Loneliness is real. I'm not lonely right now. There have been times in my life where I have been. Loneliness makes me sad. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks a lot for being here. I love you all. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. I'll assuredly see you tomorrow.